Students, after discussing the magnetism and the magnetic effect of current, our next topic or next chapter is your chapter 6, that is electromagnetic induction. Now in previous chapter we discussed about that electric current produces the magnetic field, and the change in magnetic field basically generate the electric current. So when the magnetic field is changed, how that electric current is being produced and what is the name for that particular current. So we are going to study all these things in this chapter, that is electromagnetic induction. So electro means the current, magnetic means the magnetic field is there, and induction means that induce. So here the electric current is induced because of the magnetic field. In this chapter we are going to discuss about the topics magnetic flux, Faraday's experiments to generate that electromagnetic induction, Lenz's law, and how the Lenz's law is related to that conservation of energy. Then we'll derive the expression for induced EMF based on the various laws, that is the method of producing induced EMF by changing the magnetic field, by changing the electric current, by changing the area of the coil, by changing the relative orientations, and the type of current generated during the electromagnetic induction, that is the eddy current. What is this self-induction and the self-inductance, similarly mutual induction and the mutual inductance, and some additional information regarding this electromagnetic induction, where we are using this EMI concept over here, like in generators and other devices we are using this electromagnetic induction. So our first topic is the magnetic flux. What is this magnetic flux? As you are aware that what electric flux is, basically electric flux is the total number of electric field lines passing normally through a surface. So similarly, when we are having a magnetic field and they are crossing a unit area, in that case the magnetic flux through any surface is defined as the total number of these magnetic field lines of force, that is of magnetic force, passing normally through that surface. And here we are having a surface which is making an angle theta with this magnetic field, and this is the direction of the area of this area vector ds, and this b cos theta is the component over here. So what we are having, that area vector is making angle theta with field b, and the flux is being represented by the field into the area, we know that. So the small amount of flux for this small area ds, this small area ds is given by this b dot ds, and that is equals to b dot ds n cap. This n cap represents the normal vector or the direction of this area element. Now we are resolving this in the simplest form, and we are writing it as the small amount of flux, magnetic flux, is given by the magnetic field into the area element and the angle between them, cos of angle between them. So we can write down the total flux for the total magnetic field for a given area. Total area is phi vector is equals to b vector dot product with a vector, and we can write it as, so here n cap represents the direction of this area a, and writing it in the component form, we are having the magnetic flux is equals to b dot a cos theta. Now depending upon this value of theta, we can have this magnetic flux positive or negative. Now the flux will be positive if theta is varying from 0 to 90 degree. As we know that cos 0 is 1, so it is varying from 1, and cos 90 is 0. So from 1 to 0, if theta is varying, in that case our flux is positive, and it is again positive if it is varying from 270 degree to 360 degree, because we know that for theta is equals to 270 degree we are having the same value, that is 0, and for 360 again it becomes 1. So this flux will be maximum when we are having theta is equals to 0 degree and our flux becomes phi is equals to B dot A. So this is the case here, and now we are having that value of this magnetic flux is negative for theta range 90 degree to this 270 degree. So the flux will be maximum for theta is equals to 0 degree, and we are having phi is equals to B dot A, and that is BA cos theta. Now the magnetic flux along a coil can be changed by changing the strength of this magnetic field B, or by changing the area A, and by changing this orientation theta, that is the angle between the area and the magnetic field. So we are having the three factors on which this magnetic flux depends, and any of the combination of above can change the magnetic flux for a given circumstances. Now what we are going to conclude from this, that our magnetic flux is a scalar quantity because it is obeying the scalar product law, and the SI unit of magnetic flux is Weber or Tesla meter square. So Weber is the name for the SI unit for the flux, and Tesla is for magnetic field, as we know that flux is product of magnetic field and the area. So this is Weber is Tesla meter square. CGS unit of magnetic flux is Maxwell, and there is a relation between Maxwell and the Weber, that 1 Maxwell is equals to 10 raised to power minus 8 Weber. Now the magnetic flux associated normally per unit area is called the magnetic flux density, or the strength of magnetic field, or the magnetic induction B. As we know that flux is B into A, and if we are taking the flux density, that is phi is equals to phi by A, that is flux upon area. In that case we are going to have just the magnetic field, that is the strength of the magnetic field. Now when the flux changes, in that case current is being produced, and you had already studied a bit or knowledge of or theory about this in your 10th class as well, under the topic electromagnetic induction. So Faraday performed few experiments to explain the concept of electromagnetic induction. So this is the first experiment performed by Faraday. Here we are having a coil connected to a galvanometer and a magnet is there. So when we are placing this magnet or making this magnet close to this coil is showing deflection, and if we are making it move away from the coil, in that case the deflection is again there. So in this case north pole is towards north. What we are concluding, that whenever the current is flowing through a solenoid, in that case the solenoid behaves as a magnet. So when this magnet is approaching this, in that case it is showing some deflection over there, and we are concluding that the movement of field is generating the current in this. Similarly we are concluding here that if south pole is approaching this, in that case the current is being produced, but the deflection here is opposite to the deflection over here. So similarly we are reversing the direction of the magnet over here, and in both the cases we are concluding that the direction of flow of current is changing. Here the current was anti-clockwise, and here the current is clockwise, and we can see contrary over here the current is clockwise and the current is anti-clockwise. So what he concluded from this experiment, Faraday concluded that whenever there is change in magnetic flux, then some electric current is being induced in the coil solenoid. So we are having this bar magnet, and these are the magnetic field lines represented for a bar magnet. So these are the magnetic field lines. This is north pole, this is south pole. Magnetic field lines are emerging out of this north pole and entering the south pole, so making a loop. When this is making bring close to this bar magnet, in that case this is again behaving as a bar magnet because of this change in magnetic flux, current is being induced in this bar magnet or a solenoid. So we can say that magnetic flux linked with the coil changes relative to the position of the coil and magnet due to the magnetic field lines of force cutting at different angle at the same cross sectional area. So we are having different values or different amount of the field as we are approaching towards this, or we are going away from this coil, and in that manner, due to change in magnetic flux, the current is being induced in this coil. So what we are going to observe over here, that we need to observe the relative motion between the coil and the magnet, induced polarities of magnetism, direction of current, whether it is towards right or left in a given galvanometer, that is given by the deflection of the galvanometer, then the amount of induced current, and that can be noticed as soon as there is some change in flux for a given arrangement. So we are having that the coil can be moved by fixing the magnet. So we can arrange this experiment in different way, three different ways. Like the coil can be moved by making the magnet fix. We can make both the coil and magnet can be moved towards each other or away from each other. In that case, there is some relative velocity or some motion between the two objects, that is coil and the magnet, and because of that the flux is being changing over there, and hence the current is being induced in the arrangement. The next is the flux linked with the coil changes relative to the position of coil and the magnet. If we are changing the position of the coil and magnet, in that case the flux is also changes. And if we know that the current, if we change that, the current and hence deflection will be large if the relative velocity between the coil and the magnet is large, and we can say that the rate of flux along the coil is more in this case if we are rapidly changing the movement or position of that coil and the magnet in this case. Now next we are having the second experiment as explained by Faraday. In this experiment, the Faraday took two coils. One is the primary coil over here, another one is secondary coil. So the current is being flown through that primary coil through some supply. Suppose we are having a battery and the current is flowing in this manner. So this becomes a north pole, this becomes the south pole, and here we are having key. Now if we are making another coil which is attached to a galvanometer close to this current carrying coil, in that case what Faraday observed, that a deflection is being produced in this galvanometer, and we know that galvanometer shows deflection only when the current is there in that particular. So what we are observing, that this current carrying coil is behaving as a bar magnet, and when we are making this coil close or away to this current carrying coil, so because of this magnetic field, current is induced in this secondary coil, and that is being detected by this galvanometer. Similarly, we are having the other case also. In this case, if we are changing the polarity, in that case again we are observing that the current is induced in the secondary coil, but the direction is changed over here. So what we are concluding, that when the primary coil is closed, in that case current grows from 0 to the maximum value, and during this period current induces some flux in this primary coil, and if we are bringing this coil close or away from each other, then change in flux is linked across the secondary coil and EMF is induced in the secondary coil. And when EMF is induced, then hence as a result current is induced in the coil and the deflection is being noted by the galvanometer. Now this deflection remains there in this secondary coil as long as the current is there in the primary coil, and hence magnetic flux is there in the secondary coil changing continuously with respect to the movement of these either the primary or the secondary coil. So what we are having, concluding here, that there should be some relative motion between the two coils. Now, so when the primary coil is open, current decreases from maximum value to 0, and during this period changing current induces the changing magnetic flux along the primary coil. So what we noted, that the direction of current in secondary coil is reversed whenever we are making a motion opposite to the initial motion. So the deflection in the galvanometer is also opposed as compared to the previous case. So out of these experiments, Faraday deduced two laws of electromagnetic inductions, and he defined two laws as the first law: whenever there is change in magnetic flux linked with the circuit, then an EMF, hence the current is induced in the circuit. So with this change in flux, current is induced in the circuit, and it lasts only as long as the flux is changing. So if the flux is not changing for a given circuit, the induced current becomes 0. And the second law about the magnitude of the induced EMF is directly proportional to the rate of change of magnetic flux. So we can say that induced EMF is proportional to d phi by dt, where d phi represents the change in flux, and here is a constant, that is k is a constant, and it is so chosen that it becomes 1, and it becomes 1. So we are having this E is equals to d phi by dt. Now this is change in flux. We are having this final flux, magnetic flux is phi 2 and the initial flux is phi 1. So we are having a formula for induced EMF for a given circuit as phi 2 minus phi 1 divided by the time t for that change in flux. In association with this Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, Lenses give or proposes another law which represents the direction of induced EMF, and here it is Lenz's law. According to Lenz's law, the direction of induced EMF or induced current is such that it opposes the change that is producing this. So basically this induced EMF opposes the magnetic flux or change in magnetic flux. So if the current is induced due to the motion of the magnet, then induced current in the coil sets itself to stop the motion of the magnet. And if current is induced to change in current in the primary coil, then induced current is such that it tends to stop the change. So in both the cases, we are having the direction of induced current or the current is opposite, and they always oppose the change in flux which is the cause of that induced EMF or induced current. Now this Lenz's law is in accordance with the law of conservation of energy also. According to Lenz's law, EMF opposes the change that produces it, and in this opposition against, if we perform some mechanical work in causing the change in flux, then what we are having, that magnetic energy is being converted into the electric, and hence the Lenz's law is in accordance with the law of conservation of energy, that one form of energy is converted into another form of energy. And if the reverse would happen, that is, if induced EMF does not oppose or aid the change, in that case a little change in magnetic flux would produce an induced current which would help the change of flux further, therefore producing more current. Hence the increased EMF would then cause further change in flux, and we can say that it would further increase the current and so on. So this would create energy out of the nothing, which would violate the law of conservation of energy. So what we are concluding, that yes, that Lenz's law is in accordance with the law of conservation of energy. Now let us derive a relation for that induced EMF based upon the above law we had discussed. Here we are having the expression for induced EMF. As we know that according to Faraday's law, the induced EMF is equals to the change in flux divided by the time, and this negative sign is in accordance with the Lenz's law. So we know that d phi is equals to phi 2 minus phi 1, and substituting the values. Now if this coil is having n number of turns, in that case the induced EMF becomes minus n d phi by dt, and this becomes induced EMF is equals to minus n phi 2 minus phi 1 divided by t. We are having expression for the induced current, and we know that current is EMF divided by the resistance. So we are just dividing this d phi by dt with resistance for the given conductor, and we are getting the expression for the induced current. Similarly, we can derive the expression for the charge, and we know that current is equals to rate of flow of charged particle. So from here we are having dq is equals to minus d phi are substituting over here. So we are having the relation for the induced EMF, we are having the relation for the induced current, and we are having a relation for the charged particles. Those are flowing and producing that induced current. Now after this we are having the various methods to derive the formula, or we can change the value for that magnetic flux, how this magnetic flux changes and the EMF is being produced. So we are having various methods to produce this EMF, induced EMF in a given circuit. So we are having methods. Number one is by changing the magnetic field B. Now the flux phi can be changed by changing the magnetic field, and hence EMF can be induced in the circuit as explained by the Faraday's experiment. The next is by changing the area of a coil A in a given magnetic field. So this magnetic flux phi can be changed by changing the area over here of the loop which is acting upon by the magnetic field B, and hence EMF can be induced in the circuit. So in this what we are having a coil and closed loop over here. We can increase or decrease the area by using a piston attached to this coil. So in this manner, if we are stretching in over here, the area is increased. If we are pushing, the area is decreased, and L is the length of that coil. So we are having a loop PQRS which we can be slide uniformly and perpendicular to this magnetic field. We are having these cross to represent the magnetic field. Now if we change the area, that is increase or decrease the area of the coil under the influence of magnetic field, in that case it changes the magnetic flux d phi, and when the flux is changed, in that case EMF is reduced. So the EMF induced due to the motion of this loop is known as the motional EMF. The EMF is produced because of the motion, and if loop is pulled out of magnetic field, in that case the induced EMF is equals to B, the magnetic field, L is the length, and V is the velocity with which we are increasing or decreasing the area of this coil. So what we are having the Lenz's loop or rule is applicable over here, that according to Lenz's rule, the direction of induced EMF opposes the cause, that is the change in magnetic flux. And let us substitute the values, that d phi is equals to B dot dA, and here we can write it as BLV dt, where area is represented by the length and the breadth is velocity and the time taken to change that particular area. And induced EMF is equals to minus of d phi by dt, substituting these values, and we are getting the formula for induced EMF as minus BLV, where B is the magnetic field, L is the length, and V is the velocity with which the loop is being pulled or pushed. So therefore this motion of loop is opposed motion of loop is opposed, and the current is setting itself such that it is in accordance with the Fleming left hand rule, where it represents the force experienced by the conductor. Hence, against this force, mechanical work is done, which is converted into electrical energy, and hence this is in accordance with our law of conservation of energy as well. So we are having that concluding over here. Using that left hand rule for that induced EMF, we are finding another rule that is known as the Fleming's right hand rule. So if the loop is completely inside the boundary of magnetic field, then there will not be any change in magnetic flux, and so there will not be any induced current in the loop. So this is our Fleming's right hand rule, and here what we are having, that this thumb represents the amount of force. Here this is the forefinger representing the magnetic field, and this middle finger represents the electric current. So if the center finger, forefinger and the thumb of right hand are stretched mutually perpendicular to each other, and forefinger points the magnetic field, thumb points the direction of motion, that is the force, and the center finger points the direction of induced current, then this is our result of these two. Force is applied, field is there, and the current is induced in a given conductor. There is another method to change the magnetic flux, that is by changing the orientation of magnetic field. So we can change the orientation of coil in order to change the flux for a given coil. So what we are having here, we are having that we are having a coil in this manner. This is a coil which is placed in a magnetic field B. So B is uniform magnetic field. We are having a coil PQRS, and it is aligned at an angle theta with the magnetic field. So hence, if we are changing the alignment, then EMF is induced in this coil, and the flux is represented by phi is equals to N into BA cos theta, where N represents the number of turns, B represents the magnetic field, and A represents the area. So when we are having time t, that we are considering the coil at time t, we are having this coil is having some angular velocity omega, and we know that theta is equals to omega t. So at when initially we are observing this t is equals to 0, the loop is assumed to be perpendicular to the magnetic field, and theta is 90 degree. So for that case, we are having the flux represented by NBA cos omega t theta, and differentiating this with respect to time, we are observing that what is the amount of induced EMF for this particular coil when this is rotating in this given magnetic field. So that is E is equals to minus d phi by dt, and we are having an expression for this. E is equals to NBA omega sine omega t, and we can write it as E is equals to E naught sine omega t, where E naught represents the maximum EMF induced in the coil. Now this EMF changes continuously in magnitude and periodically in direction. So there are two types of changes we are observing, that there is change in magnitude. Magnitude is increasing, reaching maximum, decreasing, then here and here. Apart from this magnitude, there is also the change in direction, that theta is also changing for this motion. So because of this alternate change in this direction and magnitude, an alternate EMF and constantly alternating current can be expressed in sine and cosine functions, and the method for inducing current in this manner is basically the principle for the generators. We are using this principle for generators. Initially, if we are observing that if theta is 0, so if initial position of coil is taken as 0 degree, then that is normal to the coil is at 90 degree with magnetic field. So theta becomes theta plus pi by 2, or we can say that omega is equals to omega t, that is theta is equals to omega t plus pi by 2, and we are having this E is equals to E naught sine theta. So what we are concluding that alternate EMF and consequently the current is being expressed in sine and cosine functions for the EMF generated here.